Hey guys, so in this video I wanted to talk about how I've managed to pretty much radically change my life trajectory over the past 2 years, and also go over some of the things I learned along the way, and also how you can do it too and avoid some of the pitfalls and the traps that I fell into. So let's just get into it. To give you an idea of some of the context behind my life, at least prior to me committing to entrepreneurship, for example, was my life was kind of going down a path of, hey, I was doing computer science at a pretty good university in the UK, and I was just gonna graduate with probably a first and then work at a big tech firm as either some sort of software engineer or eventually being promoted to maybe a tech lead or something, managing my own department, making a six-figure to multi-six-figure salary in 5 to 10 years. However, I became highly dissatisfied with this career path, and I really just didn't want to work a 9-to-5 basically for the rest of my life until retirement, right? And the real catalyst for this was because I worked a summer internship in 2019 in direct marketing, where I was pretty much exploited for my labor, but it was very much consensual at the time because I had the choice to quit any given day, but I just kind of thought that this was kind of productive, and I was kind of learning new things from it. That's why I say consensually exploited. But the problem with that was it overworked me basically into depression, which led to my realization that this was not a path that I wanted to go down, which ultimately led me to dropping out of university and really changing my life direction to entrepreneurship, because I wanted, or at least I thought I wanted, more freedom, and I thought entrepreneurship was gonna get that for me, right? Except now I'm working even more, and I guess I'm making more too, but anyways, whatever. Generally speaking, what I found, there's two reasons why people make massive change in their life. Number one is passion. So when someone loves something so much that they're willing to pursue it despite everything else, right? Or more commonly, and this is kind of the reason that I see more of my peers now, fellow entrepreneurs in the space who are kind of successful, do it because, and that's pain, right? You experience such massive pain that you realize, oh my God, I need to change. And that's definitely the case with me, right? When I was working that internship, I kind of realized wow, this is far, far from what I want to be doing for 40 years of my life, because this is not only not sustainable, but also I had a really bad experience with one of the, I guess, managing directors at the time, and he just treated me pretty badly, well, very badly, right? And said some quite abusive things towards me that I really didn't like. I didn't like the tone that he spoke to me, and it just kind of left a really deep impression in me. And that's basically the pain that I had felt. And I realized, hey, I need to change my life dramatically. And I went on this 2-year journey so far of starting my own business and running my own show, right? Now, in my opinion, being driven by passion is definitely going to be better than people driven by fear and scarcity. However, it's very hard to get passionate about something when you're living such a scarcity lifestyle, right? So initially I was able to use pain as my catalyst to get started, but definitely slowly I want to transition into working because genuinely I'm really passionate and really dedicated and committed to what I'm doing outside of, financial freedoms or, just for the sake of making money essentially, right? But the way I believe a lot of people transition into working out of passion is just because they develop passion and they develop the love for what they do along the way through many tiny pivots. So for example, I've already made, I guess, 2 really big pivots in my career so far. Well, technically 3. So I was in university going down the traditional path. I pivoted to digital marketing for e-commerce, running Facebook ads, and now I pivoted to emails, right? So through many small pivots, I've definitely developed way more love for what I do along the way so far. Now, if at this point in the video you think, what I'm talking about is not very specific and quite wishy-washy, I'd agree with you. So let's try to distill some of what I just said into more actionable pieces of advice that you can actually implement within your life if you don't like the position that you are, or the kind of path that you're going down, and how you can change your life also. By the way, disclaimer, I know I'm only 21, so I'm probably not qualified to give this advice at all, and you have to take whatever I say with a grain of salt, because it's from the perspective of a stupid 21-year-old with a very limited experience of life, right? If I'm 40 and giving this advice, I'd have more perspective, but now my perspective is quite limited. However, I still do feel it's valuable just because, it's my own experience. So disclaimers aside, let's talk about how you can do it too, right? Number one is focus. So cut out everything and focus on the one thing that you want to actually do, or you think you actually want to do. The important thing here is deciding one thing and choosing to commit to that. A common pitfall that I see a lot of people falling into is that they just kind of set way too many goals for themselves or try to pursue too many projects, and they just fall short simply because they don't have enough leverage and they don't know how to manage their time correctly, to the point where they're spread so thin that they get absolutely nothing done. Which is why you need to focus and cut out everything else to focus on the one thing. Next thing I would advise you to do is set realistic, but still goals that kind of push you out of your comfort zone. So for example, the first goal I set for myself back in 2019 was that I was gonna make £20,000 per month by kind of like the end of 2021. And I did have a month last year where I actually did make £20,000, right? Well, over £20,000, but it just wasn't very sustainable, but technically I still hit that goal. What I mean by setting realistic goals that still push you out of your comfort zone is don't set goals where it's like, oh, I'm gonna make $1 million next year, right? Because that's so unrealistic because you're starting from zero and you don't really have any tangible skills to be able to bring to the marketplace. So setting a more realistic goal would be, hey, let's try to just make 10,000 a year by bringing some value to the place and, finding ways to leverage my time, right? That would be a much more realistic goal, but still push you out of your comfort zone because previously you were just a broke college student, right? So the next thing to do would be kind of to break it down into quarterly, monthly, and weekly goals. So what I mean by this is breaking a big goal down to something small and having like checkpoints along the way can make it seem a lot more accomplishable and manageable, right? So when you're climbing Mount Everest, you don't just say, hey, let's just go to the top. You say, hey, let's plant these checkpoints and every day we're gonna hit this small checkpoint and eventually we're gonna reach the top. This is exactly what I mean by breaking down your goals. So for example, rather than saying, hey, I'm gonna make £10,000 a month, instead you could ask yourself, okay, what would I need to do to make £1,000 a month? Or what would I need to do to make 10,000 a month? It might be, hey, let's sell a product at £1,000, in which case you would need to make 10 sales in a month. And then you kind of break it down from there, right? Like, okay, cool. Well, now I'm selling zero, so how can I just go from zero to making 1 sale a month, 2 sales a month, 3 sales a month? And you see, if you just ramp up linearly from there, you can make 10 sales a month within 12 months quite easily, right? So break it down into quarterly, monthly, weekly objectives. And from there, you want to break it down into micro action goals. So what do you need to do on a daily basis, right? Is it more prospecting or is it more, product development, things along those lines? Make it into specific goals so that you can actually act upon it. Don't just say, hey, I want to make this amount of money in the next year, or I want to be able to work 4 hours and still travel the world and do all of this. You want to make actionable goals. And lastly, I've already mentioned this already extensively, but that's setting actionable goals. So making your goal specific and in a way that you can actually act upon it. So a bad goal for a day-to-day basis would be, hey, make $100 today. Instead, you should say, okay, well, let's list this product on this marketplace and tomorrow I'm gonna make some marketing pieces and run some ads. Something along those lines. You're basically breaking down the goal of making money to actionable steps that will lead you to the outcome of making money. Now, let's talk about the drawbacks for just a bit of balance, right? So one of the things I've noticed with a lot of the people that I've come to know now is when they decided and committed to really change their lives, especially if they wanted to do it at a pace that is kind of, I'd say, I guess, abnormal, they completely lose balance in their lives. So for example, especially the year of 2020, I didn't lose friends per se, but I just stopped interacting with a lot of people. And I also completely lost balance in my life. If you watched my vlogs from last year, oh my God, in the vlogs, I literally looked homeless, dude. I shaved my head, I didn't get a haircut to save money. I didn't really care as much about personal hygiene anymore, just because I was working all the time and I didn't have money to hire people like cleaners or hire people to cook my meals. I use a meal prep company now. I just had to sacrifice everything, right? And I completely lost balance in my life in pursuit of the one thing that I felt like was gonna fulfill me and make me happy. So one of the biggest drawbacks, especially if you want to accomplish things in a very time efficient way, I guess, is you just lose complete balance in your life. And if you value balance in your life, then maybe this is not the best option for you. Another thing that I've experienced in terms of being able to radically change my life is that I've experienced way bigger peaks and troughs. So the stability internally, emotionally for me has been all over the place. You experience such emotional polarity because especially if you choose to do entrepreneurship for example, or if you want to go down a path that is not as validated as something like university and you don't have as many people around you doing the same thing, you really do experience the highs and lows of life, but almost to the extreme, right? Because it can get super lonely sometimes, and if you just had a really, really good month, you experience an emotional high. But if you didn't do the foundation work to facilitate and sustain that kind of emotional high, you just like crash really, really hard. Right? So this is what I mean by experiencing peaks and troughs, and you'll probably develop a few character defects along the way because you're changing your identity and you're changing who you are fundamentally and how you act. So along the way, no doubt you're gonna like stray left and right and, you know, pick up some more undesirable traits. But the thing is, right, the upside to these downsides is that everything that you experience now is reversible. So for example, after going through like the big peaks and troughs for like 2 years now, I can manage my emotions so much better. And I don't experience those peaks and troughs anymore because I don't let my external reality and outcome dictate how I feel anymore. So for example, if I have a month that I did exceptionally well in business, now I don't get stressed the next month if it's gonna be a month that's slightly more down because I almost anticipate it. Right? So I guess what I'm trying to say here is there's almost no way that radically changing your life in a positive direction is going to be bad. And even out of the kind of like side effects and drawbacks I've outlined, they're all reversible and temporary anyways. So yeah. Hope you found this video helpful. If you did, drop a comment and leave a like and comment down below what you think about what I just said. Because to be honest, nowadays with these kind of more philosophical videos, I just kind of ramble on and sometimes I don't even know if I'm making sense. So yeah, hope you guys enjoyed this video. If you want more of this type of video, let me know in the comments. Cool. Thank you guys for watching. See you guys in the next one. Bye.